Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's session on Ask Me session. This is the second section of our series, and I'm glad to welcome you to this second live session. Yeah, yes, like I rightly said, some interns are already done their quiz. Those are the intermediate one, not just beginners, while others are still going through the course. Just take your time, try to understand the terms. Once you don't understand, you can always ask your questions. So this is going to be an interactive section. So I understand you already know most of the questions we asked last time. So we'll be dealing on technical questions today, some of the ones you don't understand, and I already have participants. So if you have a question, you can just signify by raising your hands using the hands emoji. Okay, before I get questions, there are some previous questions asked on the Slack channel about how to load the quiz data sets. If you check my pinned messages on the Slack channel, you would see the answers to that. Someone was complaining about encoding problem. So I guess that has already been settled for you. So if you have any questions, if you are just joining, thank you. Welcome to the second live session of Ask Me. Today we're gonna be talking about some technical questions you have. So, or even if it's not technical, whatever questions you have, just you can always ask. If you have a question, you can just signify by raising, okay, Jane has a question. I'll unmute you now. You can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jane.
Okay, I asked the question on the platform and I noticed that it was not answered. I asked a question about for questions on the quizzes that we have to input the answers ourselves because they don't have an option. I noticed that whenever I input the answers, it's like the platform doesn't see the answers. For example, the version for Git control course. Sorry, I answered 6 questions correctly according to what I saw there, like 12 over 20. And I counted the questions that I had to impute the answers myself, and there were 4. I was like, okay, maybe I didn't write, maybe I didn't use the right caps, or I was supposed to put it in parentheses, or I don't even know.
Okay. Okay, if I get you clearly, you said
Yeah.
about version control. Okay.
Yes.
We are sorry about that because those questions were the one that doesn't have options. That's not the one you can choose multiple options, right? Then you imputed the right
Yes. Yes.
answers. So I see you recognize it.
Yes. In my own
Okay.
side, I
I'm
think I
sorry.
did the right
Okay, in your own side, you ensure that you wrote the right answers, of which
answer.
at the end
Yes.
of the day you didn't. Okay, okay, well, sorry about that. That's something we'll be working on moving forward because I've seen complaining about that version control and also those are the prerequisite courses, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, sorry about that. We'll look into that aspect. But moving forward, I assure you that you won't have that issues in your other graded quiz in the
Okay.
course from stage A to the end. So that
Okay.
should be an issue. Should
Okay.
not be
Thank you
an
very
issue.
much.
But what about other, do you have any other issues with the grade stage A
Okay.
course?
I'm a bit confused. I don't know if maybe I can just say that now.
Okay.
For the sorry, I didn't attend the last ask me question, so I don't know if it was answered. For the quiz for
Okay, you
this
can.
stage A, I'm so confused with everything everybody's writing. Some say you answer 1 to 10. Before you start answering, you should download your data set to your Jupyter notebook, and then you start answering. Me, I'm like, let me not just go and start and then get 0 by 100. So I'm just there looking. After going through the lessons, I'm just there. I don't even know what to do. So should I upload the data sets first? Because it's like while I finish, when I'm done with 1 to 10, I still have that 60 minutes is still the same time I'll use for 11 to 20 from the
Yes.
explanation I read out. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
let me explain to you. If you are going through the
Thank you.
courses, then if you click on the last lesson, that will take you to the graded quiz. Before you click on that button that says take quiz, you see a text that says instructions for the graded quiz, right?
Yes. Yes.
So first of all, read that text. It contains info on what to do in the quiz. So
Yeah.
in the quiz, like you've already seen in the Slack channel, in the quiz, some parts require you to write code using a particular
Yes.
data set. So once you go through that first instruction that I said you go before clicking the quiz, you see the instructions there, you see the link that will lead you to where you download the data sets. So first of all,
Yes.
it's advisable you go through that text first, go to the link, download the data sets. You can as well prepare your Jupyter notebook, first of all, because once you start the test, it's graded. And also, I guess you've seen articles on how to save your answers to the
Yes. Yes.
quiz. Because,
Yes.
okay, because if you are doing that, and make sure you have a good, stable
Network.
internet connection, and also then be in good, yes, and also let your system be in good condition before you start clear your caches in your browser, refresh your browser. So in order to not to avoid issues. So once you download the data sets, there are some questions that you need to answer using that particular data set. So it's not as if one set, if the quiz is like from one particular set, you answer, then you submit. No, they are all together. Some questions from a particular question to a particular question is just multiple choice answers. Why from another question to another number, you have to use the data set. All of them are the same 60 minutes. So as you are getting to a particular question, I say, okay, use this data set to answer this question. You will load your Jupyter notebook, then answer the questions to it. Then at the end of upload your notebook as to your GitHub profile, create a public repository. I guess you already know how to do that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Then the link on GitHub file, you submit it, you see an assessment form there on the platform and also on your mail, sent it to you. So click on the assessment form, fill out your details, then you submit. But make sure you submit your quiz because if you don't submit, the system will record it because or once the time is out, the system will submit it for
Yes.
you. So
Okay.
you understand that part clearly now. So before
Yes, yes.
before doing anything on the platform, always go through all the resources. Somebody was complaining that he didn't know that they're supposed to use the data set to answer the question. Because before you click on that button that will say take test, you should see that text. There's clearly written description and instructions for taking the quiz. So that's just what you do. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, very well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions you have?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you very
Good
much
afternoon.
for this session. My question is also concerning the quiz. You know, when you
Okay.
are taking, I understand that when you are taking the quiz, there are other questions that you need to type in code.
Yeah.
And we all know that in Python, most of the time, there are one or two ways to, or even more ways to accomplish a particular task using different
Yeah.
code. Now, I don't know how those sections are graded. Is it automatically by the system? So if it is automatically, is there any particular kind of code that the system is expecting, so that if you're going to enter a different way but you accomplish the same task, the system might decide to score you 0 in such scenarios. I don't know how it's being graded
Okay.
in such
Have
cases.
you taken this quiz, or you are referring to the prerequisite courses, the quiz of the?
Yes, I'm trying to precise. I've not taken this one in particular, but
Okay.
yeah.
It's just like what Jane said. I have already answered that. In the prerequisite course, excuse me,
Yes.
that is the issues I told her that we'll look into and try to resolve. Then moving forward from this stage to other stages, you won't have that issue. That's for the questions that you have to type in the answers yourself, not multiple questions, right? Not
Yes.
multiple answers.
Yes. Yes.
Oh. So it's not as if the system will just score you 0 if you miss a particular parenthesis or caps lock or anything. So we'll look into that aspect. But moving forward, we're sure you won't have that particular issue in your quiz moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
So I don't want to give you some full details into the quiz, but I'm assuring that you won't have that issues moving forward in your other courses or other quiz.
It's
So
all
I
right.
hope you understand.
I understand very well. Thank you.
Any other question? Please, if anyone has a question, you can just raise your hand using an emoji or unmute yourself. Just raise your hand or unmute yourself if you have another question. And also, before somebody asks a question, I'm still going to say this concerning the quiz data set, if you want to read it, because somebody said that he had issues reading it that made him lose points or something. So that's why I said before you do anything, always go through the messages on Slack. So I already posted something there saying how you load your data sets using an encoding value, which is Latin 1. So I guess that would be okay. Someone has a question. Cost power.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Now that you brought that particular issue up, the person was like, he actually read the data set using that encoding of Latin 1, because he read it
Okay.
on this Slack platform that he should read it with Latin 1. So when he did that, according to him, during the test, he could not group using those years
Goodbye.
year columns. The
Okay.
group by could not work very well or something, he could not get it. So I don't know what he really meant by that. He said at the end of the test, he was able to do research online, and he discovered that group by does not really work well with Latin with that Latin 1 encoding of a thing. So I actually asked him to send me a link to that resource where he got the message or the information that Latin 1 encoding system does not work well with group by, but he ignored it. So I don't know whether you can share more light on that. Does encoding have anything to do with does it have encoding method has anything to do with pandas functionalities or something?
No, it doesn't. Okay, let me tell you something. He said he tried using group by, but he had errors. Okay. And let me tell you something. Before he tried that, I've already tried that also. I didn't get any error. So that's why I was saying if his code was correct or not. Because it's something we've tried before putting it on the platform. And I don't have to bring out some other information. So I'll tell you that what he actually did, he didn't actually use Latin 1. I'm sure he didn't use Latin 1 code. He probably used something else. I've already seen it, but I'm not going to say much about that. He didn't use any Latin 1 because I've already run through these things, did our checks and all. That encoding can give you issues when you're using group by pandas function. So Latin 1 encoding it's good. It doesn't affect anything.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You think I'll make me again? I'm now like I was like afraid of taking the test. I would have taken it long ago, but I'm afraid.
No, Latin 1 doesn't give you any issue when you're using Latin 1 encoding. It's not giving any issue. I don't know, probably he wrote a different code. His code was not correct, or he used another encoding. So that one is true.
Thank you.
So any other question? Prosper, you have a question? Please unmute yourself. I can't hear you. Unmute yourself if you have a question. Or you can signify by raising your hands using the emoji. Apart from the encoding issues people were talking about, does anybody have any other issue during the course of taking the quiz? And also, if you notice, we send this message on your email. We don't encourage you sharing codes or answers to quizzes for those that have attempted the quiz. If you are caught, there are grave consequences. You'll be kicked out of the program. So we don't encourage cheating whatsoever. So if any other person have a question, just unmute yourself and ask. I'm guessing to some, this stage is quite easy for those that are not beginners. I've seen some have already done the quiz the first day course started. So I'll show you. Okay.
I have not really a question. It's like a comment, kind of.
Okay.
I was doing it. So that's the first one. Python using machine learning.
Okay.
Of the examples, the codes, the example, because I have to run it on my Jupyter. When you want to get the one that you're supposed to use np.zeros will give you zeros. The one that you're supposed to get one supposed to be np.ones, but in the example it was np.zeros, but they brought out the answer as in ones. And when I did that, it didn't give me the answer, so I had to use np.ones, and I got the answer. The one that was supposed to be for identity matrix, that one too was put there as np.zeros, and it gave identity matrix, which is not also correct.
Okay.
In the note, the examples that was given in
the examples are the text notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to call your attention to that.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll go back and check what you just said to make sure.
That is true.
Correct.
But it was corrected in the PDF version of it. In the PDF version is corrected there, but the
text
HTML version, the text That's how what she's saying is true. But in the
Well,
PDF, that's corrected.
I'm just thinking that the two should align, especially for
Yes,
somebody
yes,
that's just
of
learning
course.
it for the first time, because it's very easy for the person to get confused that he's seeing something on the text, another one in the
Yeah.
PDF. So
That's true. That's true.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll correct that. That's why it's advisable. I also said on the Slack that as you're seeing the text, there are some code snippets there. You should still download it, then run it on your Jupyter notebook. That's just code snippets. So would correct that. Thank you very much for that. Okay, Gospel, you can unmute yourself. Ask a question.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Good
yes.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if the question was asked already, but I had this issue. When I downloaded my data set, I uploaded it to Jupyter Notebook, but it was still showing error. I couldn't access the data on it.
The notebook was showing error
I
or
don't know
what?
if
I
I
didn't
mean
get
the
it.
data set.
Okay.
What I mean is that the data set I was given for the
Okay.
quiz. So I downloaded it and then uploaded on Jupyter Notebook, but nothing shows. It shows error. Doesn't
Okay.
show the data.
When you
I
read,
don't
when
know.
you're trying to read the data set, is that what you meant?
Yes.
Okay. If you check the Slack channel, you've answered this question before. If you are reading this particular data set, put a value called encoding, and the value of the encoding will be equal to Latin 1. Just like when you're reading your data set using pandas pd dot read underscore CSV. After calling the CSV, you put a command add encoding equals to Latin 1. So with that, you can read your data set. It's on the Slack channel. Check the pinned messages you see there. That's how to read it. Because it was encoded in another value. So you are using an encoded value called Latin 1. And also, when you tried reading it and you're showing error, this is another way to get it. Whenever you're getting an error on Jupyter Notebook, scroll down to the last place, you see the type of the error. Sometimes, like this one is Unicode error. You can just copy that, go on Google, and search for it. You will see the direct answers on Stack Overflow or different other resources. So that's one thing when you're using Jupyter Notebook. Whatever error you have and you can't decode it, just go down, scroll down, you see the name of the error. Some type error, Unicode error, whatever kind of error. If you don't understand, you can just copy that error and go online. You see how to resolve it. It's that simple.
No. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Any other question or?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
All right. Please, I want to ask the materials that we're given, if someone should study it and study it enough, is that okay? Is that all the person needs to do in order to attempt the quiz?
Okay, thank you for that. Of course, you can actually do more research apart from just what you saw on test materials. For example, there are different things stated in text. There's pandas, there's NumPy, and all that. You can actually do more research. There are documentations online on these terms to understand better. But of course, you can use it to attempt the quiz. That's good. But for your own knowledge, you can actually do more research. Even senior developers, they are good Googlers. You can Google every day and everything. So I can't say you should just rely on it. It is good, but you can still do more research. It doesn't hurt to do more. So I hope I've answered the question.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome. If you have questions or observations or comments or whatsoever, you can just say signify or omit yourself. Answer. Relating to the quiz or general or test material, whichever one you're having issues with. And also, like I've rightly said, if you have any errors or blockers, you can just always go online, especially in Jupyter Notebook. If you're running your notebook and you see errors, just copy the type of the errors you saw there. In fact, the full error, copy it, paste it on Google. their answers to them. Somebody have already had that issue before, and their answers online. There's Stack Overflow, there's Geek for Geeks, there are other articles you can see answers to. So about that. Any other question? You can just unmute yourself or raise up your hand. You can also use the chat if you don't want to say it. I'll read it in the chat if you are the shy type. Okay. Can I ask a technical question? I know you might say this stage is easy, but there are some things you can still ask that you might not understand for the beginners, actually, not for the intermediates, chairman. We have different participants. Emmanuel, you have a question. Isaac, Peace. If you don't want to speak, just put it in the chat. I'll read it. And also, yeah, since nobody asked, concerning different tracks, we'll be giving you that information later on how to select your tracks. Like you already know from the onboard, you have 4 tracks. There's data science, data storytelling, which is the data analysis, data engineering, and also the DevOps. So we'll tell you how you select your tracks. And like I said in the previous Ask Me session, we're not the one to choose for you. So you'll be the one to do the research on these different tracks to see which of them you are capable of doing, or the one you like, or the one you have a passion for, the one you're enthusiastic about. So just select, those are the 4 different tracks, and you know what they're about. So, Isaac, you have a question? Unmute yourself. Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, the markdown, you hear me?
No, I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about the shortcuts that could be used on, for example, the Google Colab. For example, the M for Markdown when you're on command mode. Yeah, I tried them out, and it's just a few of them that work in, like toggling between different cells using, for example, A and B. That's what's working. But things like the Markdown isn't working, and then to delete a particular block, block cell with DD, double D, isn't working. So
are you on a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
And since you're using Colab on the platform, there's a section where you see shortcuts on Colab there.
Okay,
to do like what you said, you wanted to change itself. Either you want to delete or change it to a Markdown cell or a code cell. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Yes, there's a section there on Google Colab where you see shortcuts. Or better still, you can just Google it. You see the shortcuts using shortcodes using your keyboard shortcuts when you're on Google Colab. In the section there are places you see the shortcuts. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's different from what is in Jupyter.
Okay. Yes, it's different. It's different from what's in Jupyter, yes. But they are quite similar. It's different from Jupyter. But in Google Colab, if you are opening a cell, you see different options to the right, where you can change it to a text or a markdown or a code, where you can run your cell and all that. Just familiarize yourself with the platform on Colab, you see. If at all you didn't get it, you can always Google, you see different shortcuts. It's different from the keyboard shortcut on Jupyter, but most are similar. So
Okay. I get you. I thought they were the same thing. So, all right.
no, they're not. Okay, another question.
Okay. No, I think that's all for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also with Collab, if your system you don't have good RAM that's high enough, on Collab you can use, there's an option for GPU there. That's another processor Google provides for you to run your codes. That's when you're coding on a data set that requires higher RAM, system RAM. So instead of using
Okay.
Jupyter Notebook that might freeze your laptop, Collab is good. Just that you need a good internet connection
Okay.
on Collab, yeah. And it's online. You don't need
Yeah.
to. Most of the libraries are pre-installed for you. Most are already
Okay.
pre-installed. So whatever you're working with, you don't need to install, except they are different from what you're doing.
Okay. So for this course, what's the advice that we use since we're
Okay,
going
for
through? Yeah.
going through, Jupyter can serve you well. Jupyter and
Okay.
Collab, they can serve you very well. But there's a stage D, where we do neural network. Jupyter might not serve you if your system, if you don't have a strong system of like 4 gig RAM, 8 gig RAM and a good processor speed. You can use
Yeah.
Collab or also Cargo. You know Cargo platform. I don't know if you know about Cargo.
Cargo is where you get data set from, or something else.
Data set, and also you can still run your notes on Cargo. It's just like, it's a little bit similar to Collab. So
Okay.
instead of you downloading your data set, because some data sets they are very large, some like 1.5 gig or 2 gig. To save
Yeah.
your data, you can just load it on Cargo there instantly. Then you start
Okay.
writing your codes. So you
Okay.
can use
Okay.
Cargo, you can use Collab, you can use Jupyter, whichever one works for you.
Yeah. Why I actually started using Collab, because I just felt that okay, at a point we'll have to deal with like large data sets. So then we start getting used to
Exactly.
Collab.
So
So that's why.
yeah, it's good, whichever one. It's good
All
to
right.
familiarize yourself with. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're very, very welcome. Any other questions? Any other questions, even relating to the internship, not just stage A, blockers or suggestions, whatever you have, you can ask. And also, I want to say this, even if you are submitting, you want to take the quiz, it's advisable not to wait till the last day, because it doesn't end well. Because when you are rushing, the same way you are rushing, many other persons, hundreds of people are rushing, and it might lead to you not submitting your quiz on time, or something happens. So it's best to do this before it ends on August 2nd, which is next week. So for now, you can still take your time perusing the data, perusing whatever thing, doing research, but it's advisable you submit on time before the deadline, like 2 or 3 days before the deadline, so we don't have any issues. Somebody asked me that question, so that's why I'm stating this now. So if you have any other questions, you can just signify, technical or whatsoever. Let's signify. Yeah, for you. Like this course, it says introduction to Python for machine learning. Is there anybody here that's um, doing Python for the very first time? That's a complete beginner. Do you have any questions to that? If it's something you understood using the text materials or whatever, or you already knew about Python before, that's the libraries we use in machine learning and data science, you can also ask. Because I saw somebody on Slack saying that she's a newbie to Python and it's not something she can understand. So whatever blockers you're having, you can ask. So we'll guide you through it. If you can't ask now, or you can also ask on the Slack channel. We'll answer that for you. This session is supposed to last an hour, and it's a recurring session, Mondays and Fridays by 2 p.m. Mondays and Fridays. So just put that on your calendar, Mondays and Fridays. If there isn't in a particular date, we'll communicate it to you on the announcement channel. So always keep an eye there, and also on through our emails, so you know what to do. And I will advise, like somebody said, he attended the quiz, then he did check the way it's structured, the instructions on what to do. If I understand clearly, the way it's structured, before you click on taking the quiz, there's a test material there that will tell you about how you go about the quiz, instructions on what to do. So it's best you just go through everything on the platform to save yourself of any stress. Whatever you're clicking, go through every information on the platform, or also on Slack. And also, before you're asking questions on Slack, most of the questions have already been answered before, or if at all it hasn't been answered, you can also check. So before you ask anything, always try to scroll through the questions on Slack, the pinned messages on announcements, whatever, you see your answers to them. This advice I'm giving moving forward to stage B, because this stage A is just like an introduction. Stage B to C to D and the rest. I'm showing it will be this easy. So buckle up. It's going to be a fast ride. Moving on. So, and stage B will be split into different tracks. Like I said before, information will pass down to you on how you select your tracks. And you already know the tracks we're offering, which is data science, data storytelling, which is data analysis, then data engineering, and also the DevOps. And also on the Slack channel, we posted an info. We're having an info session on Wednesday about the new track, which is DevOps. So there's a form there for you to fill to show your interests, if you've been doing it or not. So just go through the message on announcement channel on Slack. You see the info I'm talking about. So for somebody that asks how to select the track, we'll tell you about that. You see the info on Slack channel or on your email. If you want to select data science, data storytelling, data engineering, or DevOps, what are the differences? You can ask your question, what are the differences between them and all that. I can answer. If you don't have, I can't give you an answer now. Surely I'll give you an answer on Slack. So if you are just joining, you can just ask your question, signify by using the hand emoji, or you can just unmute yourself. We have about 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes or 18 minutes to go. You can just ask your questions. Issues you're having going through the text, or for those that have attended the quiz, or you are planning on attending the quiz, you can ask a question. You'll be working with the data sets. You have to encode the data sets. For you that's just joining now, using encoding equals to Latin 1. And it doesn't give you error with any function you're writing on your notebook. Somebody that said that probably he wrote the wrong code or something. It doesn't affect any Python function. It's just an encoding to display the data. So it doesn't affect the data. That's why I have a question or a suggestion or statement.
Right, I'm excited. That's what that's open now.
Sorry,
So
you're not clear.
So it's working. All right, so
Okay.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I've included it's working now. Okay, so I just really want to know more about this. I don't know if I'm so fast, but I think it's high time I even hear more, but I think it's a platform to really get more. All right, so I just this data science, the course is the material that is in there are materials, and then mostly they're not videos. I don't know why they make it material form. and then no videos. And then if the material, if they are rich enough to, pull us and give us the more things that we need to know about data science.
Okay, thank you for that question. Somebody asked that before. I'll still answer. Um, there are no video lectures or video materials. They are all text materials, and also code snippets along to guide you on what the terms you're talking about. So then to answer your question about if it's strong enough or reliable enough for you to be a complete data science. First of all, this is just the beginning with
Yeah.
stage A, which is introduction to Python for machine learning. Of course, the test material, they are rich enough. You can also do your personal research to understand each term, why this library is NumPy, pandas, what is used for, the documentations of this library, because the functions we gave you there, which is group by and other functions, there are more to it when you go to the documentations of these particular functions. Of course, this is just introduction, this stage A. So if you want to still know more to aid your curiosity, you can also go online to search more. Nobody hinders you from doing that, but this is just the introductory part and it's rich enough for this particular part. When you move on to other stages, you'll see what I'm talking about on how rich stuff is and how it will help you in doing your further researches. You understand? So moving on from this stage to the other stage, there will be there's one thing we call premier projects, and there's a capstone project. Capstone project is the project you do, you share into groups at the end, towards the end of the internship. Then this premier projects will tell you about when that will start. This will also share into different groups of different groups, like there are up to 15 or 12 about this particular project. So with all this, you also require you to do more research. No matter what you do, you need more research. Even like I said, senior developers, if they're writing codes before you know, they still go on Google to search for more to what they are doing. So it doesn't hinder you from doing your personal research. So that's what I have to say about that to build you on whatever we're doing. Like I said, I'm a product of also this internship. I was a previous intern, and now I'm working as assistant program coordinator and a data scientist with Hamoye. So when I'll give you a hint, when I was doing mine, apart from the text which was very rich and all that, I also did more research personally as a developer. For you to grow, or a data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, DevOps, or machine learning operations engineer, you have to do more research to understand better, to feed your curiosity. So, and that was how I did mine. And at the end of the internship, my cumulative grade and all that in my track, data science track, I was the top of my class. I was the top intern, number one. So I'll say this is what I did to improve more on my skill, learning the materials there. Each terms that was given in the material, I still did more research to see more to improve on what I've learned. And now for those, I'm just saying this to those that are already done with the course of the quiz. Since there's still time now, you can still do your further researches online to aid on what you've already learned. So nobody's blocking you from doing your own personal further research. So I hope I've answered that question.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. So any other question?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one may sound somehow, but I just want to get your input or your advice about it. I understand that throughout the internships, we will be doing some presentations of projects and all that. And I attended some of the previous project presentations, like mostly the grand finale. I saw how the projects are being presented and all that by the students.
Yeah.
Now, during the presentation, is it like advisable or a requirement that your system camera be on? Because my system doesn't have a camera. I want to know so that if it's something I can fix it before that time. So is it something like a requirement that will you put your camera on, or it doesn't matter?
Okay. Like you said, this your question is not related to this particular stage for now, Sha, but I'll still answer.
Yes.
Of course, even if you don't have, it's best to have your camera should be on, but not per se seeing your face. You can share your screen. Like you said, you've watched the videos, right?
Yes.
The person that is presenting, that's you're in a group, they'll select, we have a project leader, query analyst, then a presenter and whatnot. So if by mention they choose you as a presenter, of course you need to have your camcorder working. But the way you saw the way they presented it, they shared their screen. You can share your screen even if your
Camera is not on. Yes.
camera is not on. So you have to share your screen. But before then, you can look for or plan ahead to do that. If at all you want to be the presenter for your group, of which is advisable to showcase yourself to see what you've learned. It's a good platform because there are several organizations viewing on those presentations. So it will also aid in showing yourself to them. So you can plan ahead before that time to either get an external camcorder or camera or whatever. Just see how you can sort out that issue. So, but you can share your screen
Yeah. Thank
before
you.
that time. Just plan ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other question? We have like about 15 minutes or less than 15 minutes more to go. Even if it's not relating to this stage A, but it's about the internship generally. So you can just ask a question. Any blockers or suggestions or whatnot. Always ask your questions. Ifan is just joining. Ifan, do you have a question for us? I hope this stage is quite interesting for those that have taken it. Is it interesting? Do you like what you see? How it's going? Can you navigate the platform? There are study groups there. You can ask your question between the interns. You can associate within yourself. And also somebody was asking about the WhatsApp platform. Our official platform is the Slack group. Then on our Harmony platform, there's study groups there. You can always ask a question. So anything outside that, we won't be liable for whatever information you get. So the official platform is the Slack group and the Harmony platform. You see study group. Since you're already enrolled there, you see study group and you know how to post a message in yourself to ask your questions and interact. And also, you sharing your codes or the answers to quiz, definitely you'll be caught. And previously, we've expert interns doing this, like close to 4 or 5. So there's great consequences. Don't encourage cheating in the quiz or you share your answers to other interns. So don't do that. You will always do that. So I'll show you that of that. So those just join. So ask your question before we round off the session. We have, and also it's recording, like I said, Mondays and Fridays, 2 p.m. Just put it on your calendar. And also before waiting for these Ask Me sessions, you can also ask your questions on Slack whatsoever. If it hasn't been answered before, we'll answer. And do it to check all the pinned messages if it's related to an answer there. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself. Emmanuel Gazu, or if you are shy to speak up, you can just post your question in the chat. I'll read it out. For the shy types. Okay, we have about 8 more minutes. If there's no other question, I think we can call it for this session. No further question. Like I said, do it. Submit your quiz. If you quiz your tag along codes or the answer to your quiz is like null, your quiz, your tag along codes, your premier projects. We'll tell you about that moving on. Your capstone project. And important webinars. There are some webinars we'll be having that's important for you to attend. There are scores attached to it, the marks attached to it, and also we'll tell you the webinars that are important and compulsory. Like this Ask Me session is not compulsory, it's just like a way to unblock the questions you have or the suggestions you have, like Adefuke just said about the suggestion, we'll look into that. So this is just a way of communicating with each other, like more, making it more interactive. So, but for you to have a cumulative grade of 60%, you have to attend the webinars that are important, and we'll tell you about those important webinars that you need to attend that scores will attach to it. So, like I said, your premier projects, that's why I have a question.
Sorry, I know you've explained this before. I know you've explained it. Just try to put more light on it, please. Again, this track along code. Just explain it, please. Again, please. Just try it out, please.
Okay. I know you don't understand because you've not taken the quiz. This, okay, probably the term we're using tag along code is like the one that's confusing. When you're answering the quiz, there are some questions that will just be normal questions for you to just choose a particular option, which is multiple option. Then there are some questions that you will need to answer writing codes. The answer to it, you must write a code using the data set. So when you go through the lessons, before you take the quiz, you see a text there that I wrote description on further instructions on how to take the quiz. There's a data set that is made available for you. There's a link to it. Open up the link, download the data set. That data set will be what you use to answer some particular questions. For example, like the quiz, is 20 questions, 60 minutes. I can't tell you about the numbers of the questions that you have to answer with data set, but this is what I'll tell you. There are some questions you answer with using that data set. And if you don't run your code, you cannot have an answer. So that's the tag along. So the tag along code is the answers to that particular questions, of which in the quiz you also select the answer. But to see that you actually wrote the code to those questions, you have to submit it. First of all, write it in a Jupyter notebook, upload it in your GitHub, in a public GitHub repository on your GitHub profile. I hope by now you have a GitHub profile and you know how to create a public repository. If your repository is private and can't access it, it's still not avoid as if you wasted your time. So make sure you create a public repository and upload. If you did the version control with Git, you should know how to do all this, how to upload on your repository. If you still don't I hope you understand.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, any other question for our round off? I have like 5 minutes more. Okay, if I can ask a question.
Okay.
You're
Good
breaking. I can't hear you.
afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You were breaking. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, let me get a place where. Okay, my question is,
Okay.
for example, when I was attempting the quiz and I discovered an issue that my computer submitted the quiz before my time elapsed. And let me say, for example, in my tag along code, I did all the solutions and then I submitted it. Is there a way they can use the tag along code to grade me?
Okay, you're saying the system submitted the questions before you ticked the answer. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
So you're saying you haven't ticked the correct answers, that's the option to the question, but the system was submitted on its own. And you're
Exactly.
asking if, since you submitted your tag-along code, if it can be used to be graded. And since in the quiz session, right? There's an article we've already posted on Slack about how to save um your answers when you're answering the quiz. So it's like, yeah, I've answered you on Slack. So the best thing we always say is, even if you have a strong internet connection whatsoever, you can always, as you're taking your question, that's the answer, make sure to save it, even if you don't have to save it, because there are sometimes you'll be scrolling up and down, mistakenly, the option you ticked might be on tick. Do you get me? So that's why I say, whatever, whenever you're ticking an option to the question, you can save. Or even if you are not saving, make sure to go back and check if the thing you clicked remained clicked on. Do you understand?
Okay, understand now. Thank you, sir.
So, so we've come to the end of this session. I hope I've answered all your questions. Thank you for the suggestions. Adefunke, hope I pronounced your name right. We'll look into your suggestion and also other questions I hope I've answered. If you still have further questions, those that didn't attend this session, you can always ask on Slack. We'll be there to assist you. And also, our mail, you can send your questions to our mail. will answer all that. Thank you very much for joining this session. It was interesting and engaging.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
We'll
Bye.
see you next time on Friday. And also
All right.
on,
All right.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
yeah, take
Bye.
care.